Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the IronSquid, and what a fantastic show this is going to be for you. We've got some amazing games coming up on this particular broadcast, brought to you by Twitch TV and Astro Gaming. My name's Total Biscuit.
And I'm Apollo.
You know, we really should cut that bit out of the intro. It's a default state of being to this show. We always say, well, we've got a fantastic series of games coming for you today. It's like, yeah, and water's wet. Look at the lineup.
Yes, IronSquid just brings you the best of the best, really top-tier players. We do have foreigners as well in here as well, so It's like GSL caliber of play, but then the foreigner spice in there as well. But unfortunately, the foreigners have not been doing so well, and we do have a spark in Group D here, which is Nerchio, and I guess that leads us brilliantly into actually looking at the group standings so far.
Yeah, it does. The situation is looking really nice for Nerchio. He took his first game 2-0 against Leenock. I don't think many people expected that, except me. That's who I would have put my money on, because I know Nerchio has just the most beastly ZvZ I have ever seen. I'd put him and Demarga in the foreign top 2 of ZvZ.
Yeah, incredible series there by Nerchio, and that's a really good start for his group now, and especially because he is once again playing today, and he is playing 2 games here today. So if he manages to pick up 2 extra wins here, that could put him at 3-0, guaranteed spot into the round of 8, which of course we've had absolutely no success from foreigners so far.
No, we have not, unfortunately. Some of it was a bit self-inflicted. I don't think we need to go into that. But Nerchio has got a good start in the group, and he's got another ZvZ still to play. Admittedly, it is against the god of Zerg himself, Nestea.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult game. I mean, every single game for Nerchio comes up with from now on will be difficult, even against HasuObs, which he will be playing against today. His first game and our first game that we will be going into today is going to be Nerchio versus Fanatics Alive. A very difficult Zerg versus Terran, but if anybody can keep up there at the highest level alongside Stefano in terms of foreigners, especially in this matchup, it can be Nerchio here to beat down Alive. Alive, you know, looking as a little bit of a favorite here for this group, but is still 1-1 within this group, dropping that single game against Nestea on day 1.
Yeah, exactly. The series against Nestea was certainly unfortunate for him. He is currently 1 series won, 1 series lost, 2 maps won, and 2 maps lost there. So with him at 1-1 and playing another game today, this is vitally important. If he drops this game, then he puts himself in that awkward spot that you see in every group stage where it becomes reliant on other results, which is exactly what you don't want to happen.
And, you know, we have HasuObs and Leenock today as well that have to kind of redeem themselves after a shaky start on day number 1 of Group D, as we do have both of them being at 0-1, losing their respective first game, but now HasuObs will be going up against Nerchio, foreigner versus foreigner here today, and then Leenock going up against Fanatics Alive, so Alive will be playing against 2 Zergs today, which will obviously get him in the rhythm of the matchup, but Leenock has to pull something out against Alive. If he goes down 0-2, he may as well kiss the tournament goodbye, as it's so difficult relying on other results, and of course having the pressure of winning the last 2 games in a row.
Yeah, one of those would be against Nestea as well, and I think everyone knows what Nestea's like in ZvZ. He is almost unbeatable. His win percentage is above 80% in that matchup. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he doesn't lose in that matchup at all. Yep. I mean, look at the uproar that Demarga brought, not only just beating Nestea on television, but for the first time Nestea had actually lost a Zerg versus Zerg on television there. So, an incredible feat there for Demarga. But now, of course, we have others that can achieve this same goal here in Group D, and it really would be amazing just to have the single foreigner advance through, and all eyes are on Nerchio today, because his 2 games, that could be it, man. That really, we're going to find out today if Nerchio can do it or if he's going to fail.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. I don't think many people would have said Nerchio was the foreigner to go through here. Maybe, obviously, Stefano being top of the board there. Maybe Rhett, considering his current form. Idra was very close to going through. Unfortunately, he didn't quite manage it, but he was able to bring another Zerg through in his stead, so I guess that's not so bad. And maybe even Mana, for instance. But Nerchio? A lot of people would have said no, but, well, I remember Nerchio's dominance in online tournaments, and that dominance continues. It's just a little bit behind the scenes. He keeps things quite low-key, and he doesn't attend that many LAN events.
That's indeed true. I also would have probably thrown Todd in there, actually, to be honest, as well, just because he's been living in Korea for so long, playing against Koreans for so long, so he'd understand their style a little bit better too. But, you know, he was the biggest shock out of all, just to go, whoop, straight out 0-4, unfortunately. But, you know, all eyes, as said, on Nerchio here today. And just to run down the games, just in case nobody really got it and just tuning in now. Nerchio versus Alive, game 1. Of course, Zerg versus Terran. Then Nerchio versus HasuObs, Zerg versus Protoss. And then finally, Leenock, the GSL, the MLG champion, going up against the really up-and-comer, of course, Fnatic Alive once again.
Indeed. Alive's fate will almost certainly be decided today. He plays his last 2 games today. And if he loses both, well, that's pretty much him out. There's no recovering from that, unfortunately. So let's see how well he can do. But before we do that, we'd like to remind you of what happened previously on IronSquid. Ladies and gents, that is what you missed. Silly, silly people if you did, but the VODs should hopefully be up over on IronSquid.tv, so please, by all means, go and have a look at that. Now, what have we got coming up first? Yes, we have Nerchio facing off against Alive.
They have actually played one time before, which is really surprising. I didn't really know about this until having a look before we started today's broadcast, but they did play in a not really proving tournament. It was the Team Liquid map contest. So they played on, of course, new maps. Yeah. So you can't really look down as that as an exact result. But we actually did see Alive take a 2-0 win there in a best-of-3 against Nerchio. But now they're playing on maps they're comfortable with. They play day in, day out, both being pro gamers. So this, of course, a level playing field. And it's all down to who can pick up the win. This is it. This is all that matters. And both of these actually have respective equal percentages against each other's race. 65% consistent, and that's actually really good, because if you look at average pro gamer, I think an average pro gamer is like 50%, 55% win. So sparking up a good 10% there obviously shows he's strong in the matchup. And if you look at 70-75, that's fantastic. And then you got 80% of Zerg versus Zerg, which you saw in Nestea, is like godlike. So both of these really strong in this matchup.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. I think this is going to be a very evenly matched series, and as a result, it's going to be highly entertaining. We're hopefully going to see a lot of back and forth. We're certainly not going to see it be one-sided, and that's really what we want. We had a lot of 2-0s. I wouldn't say they were one-sided. Some of them were, certainly, but not all in the previous show. So I would like to see a few more 2-1s and some really close shaves. So hopefully we'll get that in this series. Nerchio versus Alive, ladies and gents, coming up for you right about now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Antigua Shipyard in the first series of this particular show. It's my pleasure to bring you Fanatics Alive. He is in the red trunks. He is playing Terran to the east. Versus his opponent, it is Team Ace's Nerchio in the blue trunks, playing Zerg to the west.
Nerchio, this is his tournament here to actually go ahead and say, all right, guys, you know I can beat European players. You know I can beat American players. Now I'm going to show you that I can compete with the best in the world. Already picking up a 2-0 versus Leenock on day number 1. An incredible first day here. And now going into day 2 in his tournament, he has to just nail it now. This could be his performance. This could be his major breakthrough. Everybody says, yeah, he's good online. Yeah, whatever, he's good here. But he hasn't really done anything super significant offline. He did win Battle in Berlin, but the quality there is not as good as it was here in IronSquid. So this is definitely Nerchio's tournament to advance through.
Yes, it is. It would be absolutely fantastic if he was able to pull that off. But at least one win today is very, very important. I'd honestly say 2. If he gets 2, that's pretty much guaranteed through, which is great for him. He's already got a good map score. He hasn't dropped a map yet, so it's vitally important to try and maintain that. But he is going to end up going against Nestea. And while his TvZ is good, is it that good? Well, that is questionable.
Absolutely, that's so true. And he's definitely aiming for 2 wins today, no doubt about it. He doesn't care who he's facing. If he actually beats Alive today in this series right now, he could actually go 3-0 because he's so good and has got an amazing record versus HasuObs, and I think he can go for it. So this is a very, very important game here for Nerchio. Alive, on the other hand, you know, is currently still 1-1. It's a very important win for him too. If he drops this series, he's down 1 win, 2 losses, looking on the edge of going out of the tournament here. So this is likewise of equal importance. So we do see a very regular build from both of these players. Of course, we do see Nerchio going for this hatchery first into a really fast spawning pool straight after. So 15 hatch, 14 spawning pool, not messing about, not being greedy, getting that safe spawning pool down. And on, of course, the other side, we do have the reactor Hellion opening probably coming out here for Alive.
Yeah, I like the decision to go with the 14 spawning pool on the basis that, from what we've seen of Alive thus far, he is not afraid to cheese you hard. He will all in, and as a result, at least if you get that spawning pool down just a little bit earlier, you get the lings out, you start your speed faster, and everything's just that little bit quicker, even if it does take an edge off your economy in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign of confidence already from Nerchio. I mean, a lot of people, you know, make that misconception of where if you scout too much or if you cut corners to actually be safer, you're scared. But it's actually the complete opposite because you have complete faith in your game later on. So you make sure you do not lose to anything early here. And we already see that bunker, the little fake bunker pressure awarded away super fast here. And Nerchio starting off pretty solid in this game. Antigua Shipyard, a very difficult map for Zerg players against Terran players, especially if the game goes past that 15-minute mark, because your late tier tech is so incredibly shut down because that filtered middle area with the Zelnaga tower. It's very hard to use Ultralists, of course, to go up the higher round, and it's also more difficult to use Broodlords here as well. So Nerchio's definitely looking to finish this fast in the mid-game rather than letting it go to late.
Yep, 4 links now out for Nerchio, picks off the SCV in the center, which is nice. Alive could have gotten away from that, but he wasn't quite quick enough. We've got the transfer over here and the swap around for this factory, so Hellions will be coming up, but Nerchio should be able to find out about that, I would think. 4 links coming in here and trying to get this around, but Alive will micro away from that as best he can. Unfortunately, not quite good enough. And he even finds out the timing of the command center here, which is wonderful information to get. May even delay it, actually. He's going to try and take that SCV out, and down it goes. So a good start here by Nerchio. That's a good 15-20 second delay on that command center.
That's a really, really nice little maneuver there by Nerchio, and the Hinds do come out, but not in time, and that does slow down Alive quite a bit here. Now he is going to take map control, though, so Nerchio, even though he has like almost 0% to do any form of early aggression, early harassment, he nails it, and that's a super good start. As now Alive is going to contain him, he's going to start to look to kill creep tumors and start to put a bit of indirect pressure onto Nerchio here. But Nerchio's actually gone back into gas now. I wonder if he's going to throw down a roach run or something. I mean, he's banking up a lot of gas. He's past the 60 mark now, so he actually could do some aggression here if he throws something down.
Roach Warren on the way, man. You called it. But, I mean, he's still built around a drone, so he's not intending to just go all in with it. He does want to at least build a couple, though, and start to get his creep spread going, especially bearing in mind that Alive has gone for the early third command center, which we've seen so much in this tournament as the emergent Terran Korean style of doing things.
Yes, they do, and it's super efficient to do here, and it can pull off a lot of the time. Actually, hold that thought, because Hellions do get around the back here, and Nerchio cannot afford. He's already cutting his economy because of this aggression, and he actually does save a good amount of drones there.
Well, there's still 3 Hellions up, more to the point, and the drones didn't go down, but you did, of course, lose mining time. Those 3 Hellions are still alive. 1 will go down, but then they're all making their way into the main drone line. I like the fact that Nerchio's not actually pulling his entire drone line here, but he does lose a drone there. A second one goes down. That Hellion is just being an absolute pain for him, and it was unfortunate that he wasn't able to repulse that a little bit better. 3 drones taken out for 4 Hellions. It wasn't the best engagement ever, but because of pulling this entire drone line on the bottom, I feel that Alive has caught up a bit.
Yeah, he has, especially after that little mishap of losing the SCV. But more importantly is that Nerchio now can't be aggressive because it was scouted so incredibly easy. You know, he saw the drone count, he saw the Roach warring down in the evolution chamber in the main. So Nerchio's like, all right, well, he knows it's coming, can't go for it now. Even though that worked out better for Nerchio, because if he had tried to do it, there's 3 orbital commands. There's going to be a tank on the higher ground here, which covers the entire ramp area of Alive. So actually, I think this worked really well for Nerchio, even though he doesn't know it, that he kind of didn't be aggressive. And even though he has Roaches out now, it's not really to do anything. It's just to push away Hellions here to make sure that he can freely expand and try to deny that map control that Alive is, of course, wanting to have.
Yeah, well, there's no more Hellions coming out. It was only 4, but Nerchio does have to move out to confirm that. Alive has been known to build more than that. He often actually builds 8 in this matchup, as we've seen. So it's good that he's moved the Roaches out just halfway across the map here. And since there are no Marauders with Concussive Shell, it's a little bit safer to move slow Roaches out. He is going to try for a little bit of aggression, but he's going to move to the 3rd here, which is a nice little choice, I feel, because at least he's going to delay this command center. The Orbital's actually now flying back because he's thinking, oh, well, is there big aggression coming in? I have no idea because I don't have map control.
Yeah, and the more time this command center spends in the air, the worse it is for Alive, because it could be just sat on the natural building up an SCV count, of course, but he's actually just going to now send it across. Does have a tank covering half of the ramp of that 3rd base, but the other half is not covered, so even though he is going to kill the back of the rock so he can enter from a different location, he still can crawl up into that 3rd base, and now Alive has to focus on making sure this is safe if he's going to devote, of course, into landing that and building SCVs straight onto that 3rd mineral line.
Yep, and Nerchio's been doing well on the drone count, man. He's at 60 already and is continuing to build another 3 while also adding a lot of upgrades. We've got the double evolution chamber style into Infester and really early burrow. I love this decision. Not enough people do it. It gives you so much flexibility.
Yes, it does. You can set up Baneling traps as well. Of course, you can heal units and keep them underground for scans. So this is actually a really nice, and it's a very cheap upgrade also here. We do have the Roaches now going in, and the tank is out of position here. It's trying to siege at the back behind the bunker, but it doesn't look like Nerchio's going yet. He is now, and he's going to pick off a couple of kills here.
Yeah, he's going to get a couple of SCVs, certainly no problem. He could have gone straight in for the tank. I mean, the Roaches can take a few hits there, but I like the fact that he didn't, honestly, because he can get out of there with all of his Roaches intact. He's lost nothing in that engagement and actually gained some, delaying the orbital command, forcing a cancel, and picking off an SCV or 2.
And putting complete pressure onto Alive, and isn't just letting Alive do whatever he wants here and taking actions away from actually doing whatever he wants. But Alive now is starting to stabilize. He's got this 3rd base up, which is the key thing, and he's going to look to just sit back now. These Marines looking out here is just to kind of take map control away, make sure that you're kind of forcing units in case your opponent is droning, but he's already completed his drone count, so Alive is not going to do well with these Marines.
No, indeed, but the Roach count is not quite large enough here, but the Burrow is now up, so that's not too shabby at all. Marines now just backing off, and once again, map control maintains in the hands of Nerchio. Nerchio's got some great visibility here with his Overlords as well. He's got pretty much every angle covered for drops, so that's not really too much of an option. If Alive moves out with this, well, there might be a way through, but if he goes at that angle, that's going to be picked up by that Overlord almost instantly.
Yeah, and that's what he's going to try to do now, is sit back on these 3 bases, but it looks like Nerchio's found another hole here. That tank not quite close enough to do any damage here, and just 2 supply depots is more than enough for him just to back off. It's better than nothing, and now that drop is coming down, I wonder if it had been spotted by Nerchio there. I'm not sure if he was looking on the right-hand side while controlling those Roaches, but he's now in a comfortable area where he's got Pathogen Glands finished, he's got Infest, he's got 17 drones coming out, which tells us he's about to start Hive very shortly here as he wants to start building Spine Crawlers in the center here, but this drop from Alive not doing anything yet. He's going to have to try to go down there, but look, there's already Spine Crawlers and Roaches in position to protect this 3rd base.
Yeah, Nerchio is doing absolutely fantastic in terms of his economy. So is Alive, admittedly, but he's been hobbled every now and again by these small little harassment maneuvers, just even using roaches in order to do them. And now a fairly significant army. Alive is behind in supply. His army is slightly smaller, although it does have position. A nice fungal and a quick cleanup there. He doesn't have +2/+2 yet, so I'm kind of surprised he's going in now. But this drop is actually going to do nothing. If it goes in there, it's going to be shut down completely, so incredibly fast. And Nerchio's got the freedom now to even try and take a 4th base. He's got the... In fact, that's exactly what he's doing right now. His creep spread is more than halfway across the map, and things are looking really nice for him. Alive playing curiously passive. He's such an aggressive player usually, but what choice does he have? In comes the aggression here from Nerchio. Nails down 1 tank, 2nd tank eliminated almost immediately, and then quickly getting out of there, not overcommitting.
Yeah, very, very nice trade there for Nerchio. Just wants to wear down that army, so if the push does come, of course it's weaker, and maybe it forces Alive to sit back a little bit longer to rebuild those tanks he lost there. We do have another drop in the top left. Going to pick off an Overlord and look towards going to that 4th base location, but 2 Spine Crawlers are down once again. The Hive is now completed. Greater Spire on its way, 9 Corruptors now, and here is a ticking bomb for Alive because he doesn't know about the Hive. Even though he should suspect it's down, he doesn't know the exact timing of it until he scans, which he's going to have to do shortly. But if the Broodlords get out, he has absolutely nothing to actually defeat them.
Yep, another fairly large force trying to move in here. Alive's got really great positioning. A fungal lands, and actually that's going to kill off all of those Marines. There's no medevacs to help it, so that was even quite nice. And once again, Nerchio leaves. I love it. I really, really do. He's not overcommitting. We've got this drop in the middle, which is just going to be cleaned up quite nicely without a problem. And trying to maybe apply just a little bit of aggression to the 4th base, but it will be shut down completely here. And wow, this is the most passive I've ever seen Alive play.
And Alive isn't actually building a 4th command center here. He's just adding on more barracks. So he's actually just looking. Look at that in the center now. He adds 3 more barracks. He just wants to pile on the pressure and kill Nerchio in the next few minutes, realizing that if it gets late game, it may be too difficult if he doesn't build an earlier 4th command center. But the Greater Spire is now about to complete. We're going to see a bunch of Broodlords being morphed very shortly here. Upgrades are fantastic as well for Nerchio, and Alive is in a lot of trouble.
Yes, he is. He's got this small drop coming in right here. There isn't actually anything to defend it, but with the creep spread being as good as it is, there's no way those Marines will even do significant damage to the 4th base. So I wouldn't even be concerned about that. Link should be able to clean that up very, very quickly. Roaches can. Hell, whatever the hell you please. And here come the Roaches to make that happen. Quick pick up and go there by Alive, but the fungal grabs it. Nicely picked up there by Nerchio, and that drop is toast without question. I don't know, this is looking terrifying. Look at that. Nerchio's got a 5th base. His creep spread is absolutely ridiculous. His defense is solid. These drops are doing nothing whatsoever.
Yeah, he's really dealing well with these drops. This drop in the main base, though, might actually do damage. There's nothing here. This is one hole that Nerchio hasn't covered, and this could actually do a lot of damage with 3 Marauders here, picking off the Evolution Chambers. He cannot afford to lose these 3/3 upgrades.
Yeah, losing that is going to be an absolute kick, and that is really great move there by Alive, honestly, and that's perhaps the first major blow he's been able to inflict. But how is he going to deal with these Broodlords exactly? He doesn't have any Vikings, and it's going to rely on the Marines getting underneath, but there's Infestors and Links ready to receive that. Even if he doesn't have the +3/+3, he will have Adrenal Glands, and this is a nasty siege position that Nerchio's managed to find himself.
Alive has dropped that 4th base on the left, but it's a little bit too late here. He tries to drop Marauders on top of the Infestors here, but they burrow. Use of the burrow, and then the scan as well. Infestors do go down, so he's going to stim in. This is actually a perfect timing for Alive.
Yeah, Alive needs to go for it right now. There are no fungal growths to actually hold that back, and Nerchio is now in a little bit of a tenuous spot. Look at the number of tanks there. The Lynx can't even get close. The Broodlords trying to smash their way through there, not doing so much, but what I've got to say is that Nerchio can actually afford this kind of trade, and Alive really can't. Nerchio's on 5 mining bases, and he's got a bank of over 3,000.
And Nerchio now remaking a lot of links. He understands now that Alive should unsiege and try to go to the middle now before the next army is actually rebuilt here. And if he doesn't, then great. He sits on 3 bases for the rest of his life. That drop, though, is finally getting cleaned up on the left-hand side. Excellent use from both players. Great micro tips. And now it looks like a command center is trying to go to the right-hand side of the map here instead of holding the middle. But it's once again too late now as we have another wave of Broodlords being morphed. And Nerchio controlling this game.
Good luck getting a command center on the 4th base when the creep's almost up to your natural. Look at that. It's ridiculous. amazing creep spread here by Nerchio. He could actually even continues with this, and Alive's going to be forced to roll out here. Alive does have a larger army, significantly larger, so this is concerning, and he wants to try and get in position there, but look at the number of medevacs that just got slapped out of the sky there. That's 6 medevacs down, just running into there, and I actually even have the feeling he did that on purpose, just because he needed the supply, and there's even borrowed links denying the 4th base over here, so that's really nice. We've got stimmed Marines now moving down, but they should get cleaned up by the number of Zerglings that are in here. They get themselves in a nice corner, but Adrenalings with those kind of upgrades, no way. They're annihilated very rapidly here, and Nerchio once again going for it. Loads of Broodlords on the field, a couple more on the way as well, and these tanks getting caught at the front here.
Yeah, it's a near-perfect game here by Nerchio, and this engagement is not going to go well for Alive. There's so many Infestors here now as well, so he can fungal growth all over the place, and this is looking bad for Alive. Look at that.
Fungal, that was huge, and down goes the front line. Alive's supply count plummets rapidly. There's no answer to the Broodlords, and there's the GG. What a fantastic start in this series there by Nerchio.
Yeah, very, very solid game here by Nerchio. Looking like he can stamp a 2-0 win here over Alive if he continues like this and set himself up nicely for game number 2 against HasuObs. Alive has to compose himself. This was actually his map to win. Antigua Shipyard has a better percentage for Terran players over the Zerg players here, but with a near-perfect game, how can Alive look to play on a different map if he can't even beat Nerchio here?
I don't even know, man. That was such a textbook display from Nerchio. It really was. So very good, honestly. He plays the Ling Infestor style. And you know what I like about him? Is that a little bit different to Stefano. He's not quite as aggressive, but he does like harassment. He just picks little things off here and there and never overcommits to an attack, and is very patient with his engagements. He slowly forces his opponent back, and as you can see by the extent of the creep spread, that's what he did. He laid siege to a Terran player. Alive, most of his units never crossed the halfway line of Antigua in 21 minutes.
Indeed, and that is really bad for Alive. Really cannot afford to do that again in this next game here. But Nerchio, oh my god, if he continues to play like this, man, we could actually see definitely our first foreigner advance through the group stages.
Yeah, man, I can't praise him enough, honestly. I really can't, because he's playing so very well at the moment. And he's got to. You know, if he can take this series against Alive, then it's almost certain that he'll be able to go through. I mean, I'm not throwing away the possibility of HasuObs winning there, but statistically, he should be able to beat HasuObs. And even if he doesn't, he still has another ZvZ, which we've seen is his best matchup. And one way or the other, that's going to end up being pretty epic. However, he's not there yet. Alive could very easily come back into this series. We'll find out if he's capable of doing so right after this break. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this series between Team Ace's Nerchio. He is in the blue trunks. He is playing Zerg to the southwest of the Cloud Kingdom. Versus his opponent, it is Fanatics Alive, trailing 1 game in this best-of-3 series, playing Terran to the northeast in the red.
And I wonder what Alive has got planned for us in this game. I mean, he definitely has to have something planned, otherwise he's going to be out, really. I mean, going down 1-2 in his group, having to win definitely his last game is not a good place to be in. On Cloud Kingdom, you can see a lot of different strategies come out here from Terran players, whether it be the regular bio tank player or even mech that you know, can come out here because of the ease of access towards that third base. Definitely interested to see how Alive's going to play this, because he has to topple that near-perfect game there by Nerchio in game number 1.
Yeah, and how do you screw with that, I wonder? Because Nerchio did go for this safer opening. The Hellion count obviously wasn't high enough to really do much, but it did even slip in there and do just a little bit of damage. But I don't know how you break that. How do you throw a spanner into the works of that build? It's incredibly difficult to do. Maybe if you play mech, I guess. But will we see Alive even attempt that?
We'll have to find out. We do have the barracks, 12 barracks put down just on his mineral line here on the natural, so that he can lift up. Just check to make sure there isn't an overlord sneakily put down there. Because actually, at the beginning of this map, when everybody first started playing this, is that everybody would send an overlord there and be like, alright, cool, this is where I'm going to scout the natural and see exactly what's going on. And then Terran players got smart as they knew, oh, your overlord's up there, guess what it can't do is stay there if my Marines are shooting it down. So we do see the Nerchio Overlord in the bottom right going the long way around to kind of achieve the same goal, but a lot longer time, of course. And I love that Nerchio's actually drone scouting here to make sure that his opponent isn't doing any 2 Rex play, any form of aggression that could catch Nerchio off guard. And again, he's actually gone for a 15 spawner pool this time, but that's only because he sent out that early drone scout that he knows that if anything's coming, he's more than able to see and defend it.
Exactly. So that's absolutely fine by him. And he's got to keep a player like Alive honest, because Alive is not afraid of doing some very crazy things, and we have already seen that in this series. So that's a little concerning, and Nerchio's keeping that in mind. The scout comes into the base and sees kind of appropriate timing. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. Gas coming down as well for him, so he'll want to try and get his speed, and it will also give him the option, of course, to get roaches out if he wishes to throw back the Hellion aggression, assuming there is any Hellion aggression there from Alive.
Yes, I mean, that was Nerchio's initial plan in game number 1, and, you know, like I said, it was kind of weird in a way that it worked out really well for him that he didn't go for it, but that was his plan. He was meant to do that in game number 1, so I wonder if he's going to go back to it this game and see if he does pung out aggression. We do see Alive picking up the barracks with the 2 Marines, just looking around, sees, okie doke, the Overlord's not there, never mind, and just come back and plant the barracks down once again, and we'll have to see what Alive's planning for. It looks just like a regular, you know, actually taking out gas too here, which leads me to believe that he's going to be throwing down the command center, of course, but may actually, if he stays out of gas, throw down once again that 3rd early command center.
Yeah, that's a possibility. He's only taken over 1 in gas there, which, if he's doing that for a reason. That is meticulously planned. Lings now on the map, 4 again for Nerchio, keeping to the build that he used the last time with that tiny deviation as a result of the drone scout. Command center is down on the natural. Nerchio is just going to be able to scout it with Lings, so he doesn't need to worry there. Let's see. I mean, he could actually pick off an SCV here without... Oh, actually, never mind. The Hellion's out, so maybe he still gets it, actually. No, he gets a little bit unlucky there. The SCV is dancing around, and... Oh, the SCV is saved. So Alive must be pretty happy about that. He did actually have a spare SCV down at the bottom. He is not going to be tricked twice by that same maneuver.
We do have a second gas coming down for Alive, though, so he did stay with just 1 in gas for a little while, and then as soon as the command center's down, went for back into 3, then throws down the second gas here, so that leads me to believe that that he is, of course, wanting to tech up pretty fast. Usually if you get the second refiner, it means you want to go tanks pretty early here. I mean, sometimes you see Cloak Banshee as well, which may be an option. The other final option is that if you wanted to go for a lot of Marauders and so on, but it looks like he's actually just going straight for that early tank, and we do see the Roach Warren down again for Nerchio, so going back to that initial plan that he had for in game number 1.
Yeah, this time he's actually put it in the main as opposed to the natural, which is probably... Never mind, actually, he has put it in the natural. I was going to say, wait a minute, this I'm back to front here. So it's going to be immediately scouted again. It's a curious decision there. I mean, he creates a partial wall-off with it, and it may even be easier to repulse these Hellions because of this narrow choke point here, but I don't know. Is there any other specific reason to put the Roach Warren that close to the front?
Well, it's just to help wall in and be like, hey, you know, there's roaches coming, so you best be ready. He's not planning to go all in because he's just shown, you know, that aggression could come. So he's going to use the gas for the roaches, and then he's going to just push the Hellions back, then take a 3rd base and go back into his regular play. We do have the first siege tank building here. No early 3rd command center, though, and we do have 2 more barracks coming down. So what it actually looks like from Alive here is that he's going to be going for this 2-base style of push, which consists of 3 to 4 tanks as well as stim and combat shields. Maybe not stim though, because he has decided to go combat shields first, but he's going to be looking to punish this early 3rd base of Nerchio. But we do see 14 Lings coming from Nerchio as well, to back up these roaches here. 20 Lings now, but with siege tech on the way, depending on where the tanks are positioned, Alive should be able to hold this okay.
Yeah, he should, and it's interesting that Nerchio decides to do this, and he did poke in the first game with roaches, but he didn't have that many Lings backing it up either, so it's a curious decision. Also, more to the point, the Hellions are still alive, so he's able to get a good shot off on those Lings, reduce the count significantly, and get a scout. He sees the roaches coming. So Alive is very well prepared for this, honestly, and I don't see it doing all that much. He may be able to pick off an SCV or 2, just delay the buildings, which is exactly what he's doing there, but he's taking tank shelling in the process, and already injured roaches is a little bit of a problem. The Lings are also getting hit from the Hellions at the back here, so Alive is going to be able to deal with this quite well.
Yeah, with 2 tanks, there's no way this can work for Nerchio. So he's actually wasted a lot of money on this army. Even though he does pick up the Hellions, I mean, I guess that's a semi-win. But overall, he's wasted a lot of money here. But of course, could have been a macro hatch, could have been more drones. Now the 3rd base is down. He's building drones behind this. But this actually opens up a really nice little push, which was going to happen anyway for Alive. But it makes it easier for him now, because this wasted little army here, there's not going to be a better economy for Nerchio, because he went for this aggression to back up and then produce units after this point in the game. And here comes the push, man, and this is actually looking relatively scary.
Yeah, it is. The army supply count is heavily in favor of Alive, but more to the point, he has the tanks and he's got the upgrades. Doesn't have stim, so this push is going to hit without stim, considering it just started. But it's still very, very strong. And with just Lings and Roaches, it'll be a little bit tricky to deal with. The upgrade's starting quite late here for Nerchio as well, so that's not going to help him out too much. The Roaches just trying to work their way on these supply depots here, doing a little bit of harassment that we saw in the first game, but it's less effective, and now this 3rd base is almost certainly going to go down.
Yeah, Nerchio can't really afford to lose. This is going to hurt him so much, especially because he's so far behind in economy anyway. And this 3rd base goes down immediately without any contest whatsoever. We do have a macro hatch in the main base, but Nerchio has to expand to the top left now, and that's going to be a very long time for this hatchery to actually build. It's like 100 in-game seconds, so he's not going to have a 3rd base income for a very long time in this game here. We do see the 3rd command center going down for Alive now, who's like, alright, that's a big win, let's sit back, let's now get my medevac count, let's get stim, let's probably add on engineering base very shortly to get the upgrades flowing, and now play a more passive game to seal his 3rd base of his own, and then play for the longer stages, as he has gained an advantage at this stage of the game.
Yeah, exactly. That was what we wanted to see from Alive there. It's what we didn't see in the first game, but it's also a slip-up there from Nerchio, who overcommitted, which I was talking about how patient he can be, and the fact that he just applies very light pressure. He did overdo it there. He went out without killing the Hellions, which in itself wasn't a great idea, because, as we know, that means the map control is in the hands of Alive. He can see it coming miles away and properly prepare for it. And now this aggression is going to have to avoid the siege tanks, and good luck, that's not going to happen. He has started to spread creep on this 3rd base location, so that might at least slow it down a little bit there, but if the Marines pick that off, then by the time the command center comes down, it's not even going to be relevant, and the engagement is going to go in favor of Alive here. There's so many tanks and Marines available on the field, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, there's no way Nerchio can really break this unless he makes a big amount of units. His upgrades are a little bit ahead here, but Alive is going to start to catch up now with double engineering bays, of course. The tank line, though, is in a nice spread on this elevated area here, and this is going to be incredibly difficult to break. Maybe borrowed infestors with, infested Terrans, but we already see turrets coming down, or a single turret coming down here to prevent any form of borrowed infestors or borrowed units here. So very nice play here by Alive, and is just going to stabilize now and start to build up his supply count up to that 200 point mark once again. We do see Alive now, because he's in a fortified, sieged up position, saying, alright, well, I know my opponent isn't going to try and break this because it's pretty unbreakable. Let's pick up 8 Marines now, let's load the medevac, and let's try to slow down Nerchio's economy.
Well, it's not going to work because Nerchio saw it coming a mile away. He happened to have his units run underneath. So any attempt to drop here probably isn't going to do a damn thing. But it does keep the units back and, of course, any aggression away from that, and more to the point, it means that the map control is in favor of Alive because we don't have units all over the map. I've got to say as well, as Nerchio doesn't have as good a spread either when it comes to his overlords, and that has cost him a little bit here because this drop comes in and kills off a couple of drones here and there. Not too many, but it's now making its way to the main, and running your units from the 4th to the main on this map, well, that's difficult. It takes a little bit of time.
Oh, there is an infestor though waiting to trap this medevac, so it looks like he can't really go north anymore. He only has to go south, but there's Ling, Spine, and a Queen waiting for it, so that drop does get nullified pretty well there. There was a drop towards the 3rd base too, but once again, Roach and Ling's all over the place pushing that back, and it looks like Alive now, with this 1-1 completing, is looking to move out here. This is questionable though, of course, because there's still so much presence by Nerchio here, but I don't think he's looking to push. He's just more looking to sit back and fortify a 4th base location, as he does have that 4th base command center now building.
Yeah, seems like the best thing to do at the moment. Unfortunately, with the Hive almost complete and the Spire on the way, he's going to have to deal with Broodlords one way or the other. A big fungal comes down here, but the engagement otherwise for Nerchio is pretty sloppy, and a nice stim forward there by Alive. He picks off a couple of infestors, and yeah, that could have gone so much better for Nerchio, but unfortunately, Alive really nailed it.
Yeah, he did, and he has to be so careful because this is not the stage you can push and get away with it. There's so many units out, you know, he's not dedicated all his resources to going for Broodlords yet, and this is a questionable little decision.
Yeah, that was a very questionable decision. So many Lings annihilated there, but he is able to get the Roach flank in and at least pick off a couple of tanks. But look at the supply count plummet and the amount of resources that Nerchio has thrown away now. The difference is massive, and now he's opened himself up to aggression on his 4th base.
Yeah, that was really bad actually from Nerchio to go in. If he'd only waited for all these Lings on his now 4th base, if he'd gone in with these, that would have been so much easier for him. And because of that little sloppy mistake there, he's going to lose this expansion. He's going to lose a few drones here as well. And even if he tries to flank this, it's going to be difficult. He knows, so he goes for the counterattack instead. Yeah,
he's lost a bunch of infestors on that base as well. The Ling run by comes in and is going to do a little bit of damage to this SCV line, but nowhere near as much as you would have hoped. It wasn't able to stop the SCVs from escaping here, and this is now looking really grim. Alive is maxed out. A lot of infestors that got built got picked off before they were able to really do anything, and they will certainly prove useful to delay this attack, but the supply difference is huge, and even the upgrade count is starting to equalize here as well. +2 will at least kick in for Nerchio, so that gives him an edge for the next minute or so, but I'm still worried about the sheer amount of units, and that engagement, once again, not good. He didn't wait for his infestors, and as a result, lost a bunch of Lings, and he can't afford to do that.
And very shortly, there's going to be a big drop on the natural here too. 4 Medivacs almost full of units here, and Nerchio completely out of position here. At the same time, you can see the fungal growth going down also, just multi-pros harassment.
Yeah, it's really nice here from Alive. That's what I wanted to see from him. And this drop is massive, as you pointed out. It's absolutely huge. It cleans up the natural there. And, oh, the Infestor doesn't even get a fungal growth off here. Nerchio falling to pieces in this game, and Alive taking it very nicely. Down goes another base there for Nerchio, and he is having to just dedicate his whole army just to clean up this drop, but he's got nothing to stop what's coming at him here. Siege tanks get in position, and the 3rd is looking to go down as well, and Alive relentless here.
Yeah, this is absolutely an amazing play from Alive here, and he deals so well with Nerchio in this second game. Unfortunately, Nerchio has got bored infestors, but one scan, if seen, he can see that if he's looking. It looks like infested Terrans are going to go down all over the tanks, which is pretty nice, but still, the sheer amount of units here is just too much here.
Yeah, I feel so. I mean, Nerchio is below 100 supply, and what's he got to mine? He's oversaturated natural. That's all he's got. He's mining from one base. Alive is so comfortable, honestly, and those infestors, the infestors don't even have any energy either, so Alive can just take this game, I feel. A last-ditch run by here by Nerchio, just trying to do damage to this 3rd, and he succeeds in doing so, but plenty of mules to back that one up, and Alive sets himself in position. The Burrowed Infestors get caught and get nailed down. They barely had any energy anyway, and while that push might end up getting defeated, Nerchio has taken so much damage here, and Alive is preparing another army.
Yeah, there's still 100 supply worth of army actually still at Alive's base, and there's only 80 supply of everything for Nerchio here, so he's in a world of trouble with this follow-up push here, and unfortunately that is going to be able to kick him out of the game here, but a fantastic game from Alive, aggression all over the place, and it really did fall apart for Nerchio as soon as he lost that 3rd base, as soon as he decided to do aggression, taking away from his economy that didn't work out for him.
Oh, that was the most efficient infestor I've ever seen. Takes out 2 tanks on its own, no problem at all. Might even actually end up living through that, but I don't think it's going to help. He's going to need more than one efficient infestor to stop what's coming at him. These are so well upgraded and so well backed up. A big fungal lands in the front there, but that's nothing that those medevacs shouldn't be able to sort out, and there is no follow-up, and there's the GG. So there you go, Alive really proving that he is great in this matchup, as we've seen, and comes right back in as Nerchio makes some makes some mistakes, and Alive is able to fully capitalize on that.
I mean, if you compare Game 2 to Game 1 with Nerchio's play, it's, you know, very much so different. I mean, decisions didn't work out, engagements were not amazing, and then Alive just turned up the heat a little bit to really make it awkward for Nerchio here, and he lost so many infestors, as you pointed out, and infestors are like your sentries. I mean, everybody broadcasted, oh, you can't lose sentries, 100 gas, can't lose them, you need to keep them. Well, in this scenario, you can't lose infestors either, because if you lose, for example, 6, you have to remake those 6 infestors you're about to lose, and that takes away gas from the Broodlords, which never even came out in this game, because he never had the opportunity to bank money, to save money, and Alive just capitalized. As soon as he knew that the Hive was ready, he knew that Nerchio was on the back foot, he just never stopped coming and picks up an incredible win there on map number 2.
Yeah, and that's one way to deal with Broodlords. Don't let them come out in the first place, and Alive was able to do just that. Also, the push towards the third, which actually took it out uncontested, was great, because it then involved a re-expansion to this area up here, which is so much easier to get to for the Terran player, and Nerchio wasn't able to properly defend that. He got dropped there, and then he got pushed again as he had another failed engagement, and uncharacteristically sloppy there by Nerchio, and he is hoping he can actually tie it back up to take the series. We shall find out whether or not he will grab that win, or whether Alive will be able to get another one on the board for him, which is so important at this stage. We'll be right back with that answer. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this series, and I bring you Team Ace's Nerchio. He is in the red... This is rather odd. The scoreboard says he's in the red trunks, but my eyes say he is in the blue trunks. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but whatever the case, he is to the southeast of Calm Before the Storm versus his opponent. It is Fanatics Alive to the northeast playing Terran.
I see red for Nerchio and purple for Alive. I don't know what you're seeing here.
I see. I had color units using team colors, which is a nice option sometimes, but I'm not entirely sure why it was on by default. But hey, the mysteries of StarCraft 2 revealed. Calm Before the Storm. Interesting choice by Nerchio. Sodding huge.
Yeah, this is, well, I was going to say the biggest map in a lot of map pools, but it's not really used that often. It's just the biggest map in this map pool. The reason why it isn't used too often, it's just so passively boring to a certain extent, where, you know, you get the natural in your main base, you get a third base, super easy, and then it's just like, 20 minutes of almost nothing here, which is why it's taken out. It also is very difficult to, use Zerg's strengths here. They're meant to be the mobility, the speed army, but if you can't, touch a Terran or Protoss player for, 20 minutes in the game, how are you exactly meant to win? Because you are meant to be breaking them down slowly over time. So this is actually a pretty nice map here for Alive. Nerchio is going to once again expand Hatchery first to the front, and then take the pocket expansion whenever he decides to tech up, which is going to be pretty fast here. You won't really see any form of early-mid aggression here, and we'll have to see how this is going to play out.
CC first, man. Why not? Why not? It's Calm Before the Storm. You can pull it off. There's no real reason not to. A very early drone scout here by Nerchio confirms his opponent is not in the first place he looks. If he was, then maybe there's a possibility. Now, as they are spawned in these positions here, they're not as far away from each other as they could be.
No, this is, the positions are, let's have a look at them. I mean, they're okay. They don't really favor anybody here.
No.
If anybody, it slightly favors Alive, just because he can drop a little bit easier. But overall, this is absolutely fine. Nothing really to look too deeply into. This is actually a game where we're going to see a very strong economy, of course, because of the way it's laid out. The command center first, probably a pretty fast third command center as well. And that means that we're going to see a lot of heavy and fast upgrades coming down. So Nerchio has to be very careful with his upgrades, and he can't fall too far behind the Terran player here. So he actually has to think about, okay, if he's going to go for double engineering bay, which, 9 times out of 10 he is, I actually do need to get double evolution chamber down, and not just down, but down faster than I would do normally, because it will spiral out of control if Terran gets an upgrade advantage over you.
Yeah. Indeed, that is very much the case. Also, I'm just looking at the setup here, and Alive's taking his pocket expansion, of course, but could then very easily take his natural here to the front, which indicates to me that the Zerg player is going to need to have 4 bases. Pretty damn sharpish. And getting the 4th on this map is awkward as hell. I mean, the 4th base has rocks on it on either side here.
Yeah, so he's going to have to either break them down or expand to the bottom left of this map, which is another reason why it's very awkward for Zerg players too. Alive is probably just going to go for a... I'm interested to know why he's putting a bunker down. I don't know what he's seen, actually. I wasn't really looking. Okay, he hasn't seen anything, that's why.
No.
But he's just going to use that tank expand again probably here. Is where the Marine and Lings are actually right now is just above where they were behind the supply depot, is a tank that can cover almost all of the range of that third base location. So... I wouldn't be surprised if he threw down the third command center in his main base shortly and then the gas after, but he's actually going to throw down double barracks here, which leads us to believe that he's not going to rush towards the third command center and try and kind of play away from the image that a regular Terran player is going to do here to try and catch Nerchio by surprise.
Yeah, we've seen Zerg players in this tournament as well actually go for Calm Before the Storm and hope to get this kind of big passive macro game, and it's failed before. I'm trying to remember which game it was specifically and which Zerg player did it, but it didn't work out particularly well for him. I think it may have been Life that did it actually, but whatever the case, it didn't work out for him so well at all, and as a result, they ended up losing pretty damn badly. So here's hoping that doesn't happen to Nerchio. We've got the third base now up and operational, but of course, where do you take your fourth? But at the moment, at least, he doesn't have to worry about that. He needs to be more concerned about the aggression that's going to be coming at him.
And the second Spine Crawler coming down, which is a little bit weird for Nerchio. He doesn't need to have that there, and I'm surprised he has. And he also has the Roach one coming down, but look in the base of Alive now. So instead of going for that third command center and just trying to play passive-passive, he actually decides to go triple Marauder production here. So he's going to go for a pretty strong push as soon as Stim finishes. But the way that Nerchio's got double Spine Crawlers and a Roach Warren down is that he's pretty good at, should be good and fine at defending his natural here. And I can't really see this being breaking too easily.
Yeah, it's a Marauder Hellion composition, which we've seen coming out quite recently as a fairly popular build. And, well, I think that he's going to be able to find out as well. I mean, he's already seen the Hellion count is larger than normal. So that means one of two things. Either he is going for Marauder Hellion or he's going mech. So he's going to want to try and find that out. An interception comes in there by Alive quite nicely. The Chosen Ling does not get in. And that's fairly important for Alive because he managed to hide all of those Marauders.
Yes, and you actually nailed that perfectly, is that he saw 6 Hellions and was like, wait a minute, why? And then was like, alright, well, what are the follow-ups with 6 Hellions? And it can be double Factory, it can be Blue Flame, it can be Marauder Hellion. And so he actually decides to throw down 2 extra Spine Crawls in defensive posture, and now has an Overseer going in to confirm everything. And unfortunately here, he's not going to have enough time. We do see 6 drones making, but after that, he will be making, well, actually more drones than that, but he will be making units and more Spine Crawls coming down. And, you know, he's very, very confident in defending this, but it still will be a little bit tough. Marauders do bring down Spine Crawls pretty fast.
They do. I think he's probably fortunate that there's only 5 there, but the thing is there's 11 on the field in total. That will give a little bit of time for Nerchio to actually prepare for this, and it's a difficult composition to break, because you think, oh, well, the Marauders easily killed by Lings, but the Hellions are what's the real pain, and that's a good start there to pick off that Marauder, and it's going to be a very, very elegant chess game here to actually properly engage against this force, and he manages to do a lot of damage to those Marauders and drive this away initially. Things are looking good for Nerchio at the moment, but his unit count is extremely low, and that's what's concerning. He's actually even building drones.
Yeah, he's at 54 drones now, and he just wants to go up. He knows that this isn't really breakable with 5 Spine Crawlers and added in units there, and he realizes that the plan B must have been deployed by now, and he's like, alright, whatever. But the questionable decision here, oh my god, a scan lands in the main base here by Alive, is that we do see Nerchio going Spire, and now having been scouted, turrets are going up. Spire was a really cool decision to go for, especially because you know, okay, this guy's got a lot of Marauders now. You know, he's delayed Stim, he's delayed combat shields. Oh, not Stim, sorry, he's delayed combat shields. He also doesn't have engineering base down and turrets down probably either. So this was a bit of a surprise attack coming in, and especially knowing that the Marine count would have been incredibly low. But that scan was beautiful, and it saw the Spire now, and we already see a bunch of turrets going up. Double engineering bay, and that's what I talked about, which is really scary for Nerchio, because if they do go out of control, he will just lose the game because it gets way too difficult to face up a heavy upgraded Terran player. But he is upgrading his own now, but he's pushed away by these turrets, man, and that's really beautiful defense.
Yeah, it's nice there from Alive, and it's put Nerchio in that awkward spot. The upgrades are coming in aplenty here for Nerchio as well, getting centrifugal hooks, going for a Mutaling Baneling style at the moment. But throwing down that double evolution chamber directly after the scan finished, he knows that the scan has been done, and he'll look to try and find holes in the defense, but there's not going to be all that many of them.
There is a little one on the natural because these turrets have not gone up yet, so Nerchio finds a location where he can pick off some SCVs and finally start to slow the Terran player down.
Ah, gets a mule there. Very nice grab. And at least this keeps Alive in his base. Alive doesn't really have all that many options here to do drops, for instance. He could take advantage of the positions here, but drops are going to be difficult. Nerchio's actually building more mutas, so I don't know. And even though the preparation has come down there for Alive, it doesn't seem to have stopped Nerchio's plan here.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting for Nerchio, because that means if he's going to continue to invest in these, the infestation pit's going to be later, and of course he's not going to really have the gas to upgrade 2-2 straight away either, unless he, stops building Mutalisks. So he is going to go in again. This counter Mutalisk, though, as +1 finishes, are going to start to be able to 2-3 wave hit turrets. Yep. So this is where he's going to go in to start doing more damage.
Yep, he picks off one there, and there is another one in the line. He actually stops that one from going down and then focuses fire just a little bit. He is sacrificing a lot of mutas there, and there's just so many turrets, and that didn't really go down so well there for Nerchio. That said, he has killed 12 SCVs up to this point, as well as a mule, so he's keeping the economy of Alive from going out of control, and he's getting into a position where he can actually get his going out of control himself. There's a hatchery coming down here that was spotted, but there's Lings now moving to intercept. Good positioning there from Alive, though, but the remaining Lings can go in and actually clean it up and save the hatchery, and you see the 5th base coming down here for Nerchio too.
Yeah, he has to rapidly expand because he knows he can't stay Mutalisk forever now, and not only doing damage to SCVs, he's picking off reactors now, and he's forcing mistakes away from Alive. The armory is very late here, and so that he can't, continue with that upgrade advantage he had, where he goes straight into 2-2, and that slows it down, and that actually allows Nerchio to overtake if he wishes to upgrade 2-2 right now as well. We do have Borrow Beam researched as well, but rapidly expanding on this map is the way to play here, but he has to be so careful about Hellions, which we've seen in the center here.
Yep, well, at least if you've got a large Mutalisk count, you can really react to that quite rapidly, and that should work out fairly well for him. He's got 22 Mutalisks at the moment. He's morphing in a lot of Banelings, and he's now bringing in the Infestation Pit, and he really is going for this. He's actually going +2 flyer attack here, which is kind of cool, because it does allow this transition to incredibly powerful Broodlords later on in the game. But a Mutapack with +2... that's really dangerous stuff, and if he knows about the delayed armory, then he might be thinking, oh, well, this is nice. I'm not going up against a bunch of Marines that have heavy upgrades, although the Marine count is getting kind of silly. It's already at 60, and is getting even higher.
Yeah, and he's going to start... he's just sitting now. That's all Alive is doing. He's just sitting back, being passive, defending against Mutalisks. That's his goal right now. Look at the Banelings, though, that have been spread across here that are borrowed and ready to trap any forces of Alive. And then go to Mutalisks again and doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, but driven away there, but unfortunately there's just not enough Marines to start it from happening. The count is great, and hey, freebies, he's going to go for it right now and picks off a couple of Marines as they come to reinforce. Great damage being done here. Needs to be a little bit careful, but his control is good, and he is straight out of there with bare minimum losses. 18 workers killed now.
Yeah, that's really good, and I do like the forced addition of Thors here to really help with this Mutalisk lock, as he knows that, Nerchio's actually committing here, so if you add in a few Thors here into your army, it almost nullifies Mutalisk, because that means they have to focus and magic box down the Thors, which means they have to fly above them and get that surface spread out, which means the maximum amount of Marines can do damage to them. So, really nice addition there. Mutalisk, though, could actually catch a few tanks if Alive isn't careful, but look at this 2-2 force now. Well, about to be 2-2 force here for Alive. This is actually very strong, but the Banelings here, if he can bait him into the Banelings...
yeah, that's what he's looking to do here. And with so many Marines, these Banelings are going to be super effective. And with scanner lines down, they see those Banelings, they don't see the borrowed ones. But unfortunately, he's not going down that path anyway. There's a massive link count behind that, which nails down a Thor and is actually picking off the reinforcements, forcing everything to go back. Banelings now moving, a great focus fire there by Alive to bring those Banelings down before they hit anything. And unfortunately, he isn't able to get into the mineral line with those either.
Oh, that was really, really bad there. He picked off a Thor in a bunker, but lost so many of those upgraded Mutalisks, which he's been saving all game long here.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's trying to free up supply.
Hello.
Oh my god, Banelings, Banelings, Banelings.
Banelings. He is right on top of them. He's got to detonate, and there he goes. What a great hit. That might have equalized it a little bit, but still... there's a lot of tanks now pushing towards this base, and things are going to get very, very dangerous. And the macro is just so many barracks. 11 Marines coming down at a time, couple of Thors, and working on +3/+3.
Yeah, now these expansions that are so far away from the creep spread, so far away from the main infrastructure of Zerg, are going to get picked off here, and this is where, of course, the map gets more difficult, because it's so easy for Terran to sit back and then spring out later on. But now, Nerchio has to try to slow this down, but he just doesn't have the unit count, and these expansions are going to go down. The bottom left one does go down, of course. The fourth base is in the sights next. Nerchio trying to muster units together, trying to defend this base. He has to defend this base.
Yeah, there's an Infestor under there, and it lands a Fungal Growth, and in comes Nerchio trying to crush this army. Baneling detonations go off, a lot of damage there being done, but unfortunately a lot of the Banelings ended up hitting. Oh, he missed an opportunity to Fungal there as well. I'm almost certain he had the energy for it, but he lost the opportunity to really hit those. There's a big Fungal, crashes through that force right there. There's the equalizer that he actually needed.
And unfortunately, he doesn't have enough Mutalisks really to pick off the Medivacs and waste a lot of Banelings on this Thor. He can easily pick it up and just return home here. And he does get Fungaled once, but there is a second Fungal Growth to trap these down, but there isn't enough to kill them. So he does manage to come back with all those Medivacs, which is super good for Alive, who should be looking really to kill some rocks at that top left, really, so he can start to expand towards the fourth base. But he smells weakness. He knows he's broken down the economy of Nerchio. So if he keeps on piling on the pressure, then, you know, that's two decisions he has to weigh up now. Does he go back and kill the rocks to give Nerchio more time, or does he continue with this push to try to hammer Nerchio out of the game?
Yeah, exactly, and that's a nice little maneuver, honestly, by Alive. He's doing so well to actually deal with this. He's been up against 5 bases for the longest time, but that was a absolutely fantastic strike, and the Mutas ended up, as they always do, being kind of worthless, and the +2 flyer attack just proves to be absolutely worthless now as well. As a result, there's only 5 Mutas on the map. He is just hanging them around just to make sure that any attempt to take a base here or there isn't going to happen. But what I'm concerned about is +3/+3 finishing here for Alive. And yes, Banelings will deal good damage if he can get the connection, but more often than not, he's not getting the Baneling hits because Alive is just too quick for him.
Yeah, I mean, if somehow Nerchio can pull him towards the Boread Banelings on the right-hand side, it could change the tide a lot. We do finally see that fourth base go down for Alive here. Of course, it's going to really power his later stages of the game. Nerchio, be so careful, my friend. You cannot afford to lose these units because he's at a point where he's still on 4 bases. He's only just now rebuilding that 5th up, and his economy just isn't there. He's got a lot of money banked up. So what his initial plan now is, or plan right now, is to save money, try to counterattack, keep Alive away from his main base so that he can tech up to this Greater Spire, which will be trying to go down shortly. So he's running around the left now. He has to pull Alive back. He can't let Alive walk down to this 4th base.
Yeah, but what chances you really have? Oh, the Banelings don't even get a look in. This 5th, or indeed the 4th, could end up going down here. There's a huge flank coming in here with a ton of Lings, but that's Lings he really needs to stop this army from coming at him, and that's not going to happen now. So I am very concerned. The scan goes down, and those Banelings probably aren't going to get a look in either. He escapes with the majority of them at least, but bye-bye 4th base and bye-bye a lot of drones.
And bye-bye 4th base of Alive here. The Planetary Fortress is not enough to push back this amount of Lings. And that's a really big win there by Nerchio, trying to buy time. Has Infestors coming out too. Has not started the Greater Spire yet. He needs to start the Greater Spire. He cannot really combat this. I mean, if he does want to try to combat this, he has to make a bunch of Infestors right this very second. But nothing is in the production tab here. Nerchio, what are you doing with your money?
I don't know, man. I really don't. Lots of Lings, and the problem is that he doesn't have adrenal glands and he doesn't have +3/+3, so these are not efficient at all. That's my real concern about having so many Lings coming in. And here comes the stim from Alive. The first Fungal does not land. Every Fungal counts here. This deployment is looking great here by Alive. The engagement here has got to be so very good by Nerchio. It's got to be pretty much perfect in order to make this work. And here it comes. Ling after Ling swarms in. Massive amount of infested Terrans deployed here. Banelings come through as well. Alive's army count absolutely plummets. So does Nerchio's, but he actually wins that engagement.
Holy crap, Nerchio does it, and wow, I can't believe he just was so patient there and was like, no, I'm going to build Lings. I'm going to hold this off. And that was an amazing defense there.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is he still has a terrible economy. He has 50 minerals. He has 3,000 gas, but 50, 100, not even, you know, over that small amount of mineral count. And if Alive picks up a command center and gets back to that 4th base and allows that to be a planetary fortress, Nerchio's going to be facing a very hard little situation here. At the same time, we do see Alive running out of resources. So this is a very low economic game right now. There's no way he can tech up. He had a lot of money. He could have gone to Broodlords and so on with that decision, but he didn't go for it. Now he has to stay on mid-tier units. He doesn't have the resources, and he has to keep Alive away from expanding. He cannot let Alive take this base because he has 3-3 Marines, the most efficient unit in the game right now, and of course with the mineral income about to rise up again, he's going to have that count.
Well, he's going to go for it right here, and Alive's going to have to respond to this, and there's the lift. Some SCVs being killed off here and there. Baneling Splash going off as well. Does not want to throw this army away, though. If he can stop this from mining, fantastic. That would be great. The transfer's going on to the 4th there. A small vanguard of units is annihilated. A nice efficient trade there for Nerchio, and the cleanup is coming in. A nice burrow maneuver as well to save a lot of these drones against this drop by Alive. The drop is now completely cleaned up.
And a drop in the main base here too, killing the spawning pool, killing a bunch of drones as well. I guess he can target down the Baneling Nest and the Spire after as well, and this is actually really, really good. The lack of units, I mean, they're all on the other side of the map in the top left, and Nerchio decides to go in on the top left, but pushed away by 3-3 Marines.
Upgrades are good. That's the problem, and this is maybe even what we... In fact, it's exactly what you said at the start of this, that this could really be an absolute killer for Nerchio, and finally this drop will be cleaned up. Losing the spawning pool, certainly a problem here. Both of these guys are below 100 supply. They are kicking the crap out of each other. Another infestation pit and another spawning pool has to be built. Economy is bad for both, but it's definitely better for Alive.
Yeah, and now he's got that planetary fortress up. Look at all the mules are being cooled down now, and Alive, his income's going to start to shoot up. It's at 2,500 minerals compared to a miserable 1,000.
Yeah, that drop had to be caught as well in order to make this work. If that drop had gone into the 4th, that would have been devastating, but nicely grabbed there by Nerchio. He is still in the game here. He's finally starting double +3 here, so he's looking to try and get back into the game. His infestor count is quite nice if he can keep them alive. That's perhaps the most important thing. Alive, on the other hand, is mining from this planetary fortress base. He's going to mine out pretty damn fast, but he has another command center that he can use here. And this has turned into a fairly epic game with both guys running on very low supply. 9 more infestors coming in from Nerchio.
And the drop in the main base is trying to escape here, but this is a tight wall map, so that means that the infestors can grab this on the edge here, and they're going to come down and fungal and pick this drop up in the bottom.
Oh, yes.
Right here, and it does get picked up there. But like you said, there's an extra command center. Alive should be picking that up, floating it to the top left, and I'm like looking at the 11 o'clock base. That's where he needs to put that down. Planetary fortress it up, because that's where his strength's going to be if he can start to muster up another expansion. And we do see we do see Nerchio now trying to expand again at the 6 o'clock. And if he can manage to get these fully upgraded Lings before this push comes, with the infestors he has, he can still win this game. He can, get the fungals down, can crush every little bit here.
Oh, hello. The Mutalisks that were left for about 20 minutes have actually managed to find their way into the mineral line, and everything counts here. If he picks off a mule, which he does, and 3 more SCVs, everything counts. And he's denied mining from the only mining base of Alive with these spare mutas that were just lying around.
17 infestors, though. That's a lot of infestors. He does clean up the mules, well, not really clean them up, but push them away. We do see 5 buried infestors here, looking to kind of get some damage done, find the army, have a look at it, do damage with just energy and then back out. But there is a turret inside the main base, so if he tries to go there, he's going to get picked off. But he's just looking around, and he sees it's a small army.
There's a nice one, at least to nail that down, but that's not, of course, the entire army of his opponent. He can now start to swarm into the natural and perhaps do damage. Won't be able to kill the economy, but he can do damage to the production. In the meantime, this big army's actually pushing down. We could end up in a wonky base trade scenario right here, but don't take tank shelling on those infestors. Good lord, they are so very important here. Fungal growth is used, and infestor is picked off in the process. This big push now going down to this mining base. The drone count is actually already gone here. He's moved them away just to try and avoid losing them, but Alive stims forward and he will find them. Oh, the Burrow's there! He manages to save them. Burrow is so very good. And now, Nerchio's going to try and at least catch this army out and destroy it.
There's about 20 fungal growths available here for Nerchio. There's 41 Marines on the map,
just finished.
but that's only about 30 Marines in the bottom left now. He needs to split up every single Marine in different locations. Of course, the tank's there taking a lot, or doing a lot of damage here, so it is a fortified area, but he's now trapped. You know, what does he do? Does he try to get out? And he picks up and drops towards this other location.
Yeah, it does, and Alive's got such a massive supply advantage at this stage. It's pretty much only Lings and those Infestors, and 5 of them have already gone down. At least he can stop this drop from really doing any damage here. There's going to be a big attempt to actually push this 4th base down, which will mean Alive is out of mining bases.
Yeah, Infested Terrans are going to come down with all the Lings. They will be able to pick off this expansion. There's no units close whatsoever, but in trade, Nerchio loses his 6 o'clock expansion as well.
Exactly, and he's going to lose quite a lot of Lings as a result of this Planetary Fortress splash here, but at least he doesn't take the Infestors out. Everything annihilated on both sides here. And now we're in a really awkward spot. None of these guys are mining.
82 Lings and 12 Infestors versus 56 Marines and 9 tanks. As long as Alive doesn't take a bad engagement and has his tanks in position at all times, it's going to be very difficult for Nerchio to get in there, as long as, of course, the Marines are all spread out. Anybody's game.
Well, some of the drones just got annihilated. In fact, the Burrow goes in, and wow, that's not what you want at all. I don't think he really intends to rebuild at this point, but that was pointless. And it's now army versus army. But bear this in mind, Alive can actually move those command centers. And there is no other hatchery down here for Nerchio. He's going to have to long-distance mine in order to actually get the money for another hatchery.
This is very, very tense right now. Anybody can win. It's all about army control, who catches who out of position. The favor does go for Nerchio because he has the mobility here. If these tanks are unsieged, that's it. You're dead. Every single unit's dead. So Alive has to be so careful. Top left, there is a borrowed Baneling.
Nice.
You know, keeping the command center from landing, actually. And we do see 4 borrowed Infestors marching up here. They're going to see that there's no turrets, and if they see the clump Marines, they could do a lot of damage. Maybe just launch up some Infested Terrans on top of the Marines so that tanks do splash damage. Ooh, actually,
he's going to go for the engagement here, and he gets the fungal on it, but Nerchio GG straight away, throwing himself into that, and oh, that was a disappointing end to what was otherwise a fantastic series.
Yeah, I mean, he went in there, and I'm really still worried about him going there, but at the same time, he knew at the top left that this base was back mining again, so the Marine count was going to climb up, and, you know, there's still the army in the bottom left too to deal with, and then the army in the top right, and as long as Alive was always sieged up, he's never really going to take a loss here, and with 3-3 Marines, man, they tear through everything, and unfortunately for Nerchio, he does lose this series 1-2.
Yeah, he does. Very well played there by Nerchio and by Alive as well. Alive will be relieved to have won that because that was an incredibly tense series there. Nerchio looked unstoppable in the first game, but this is how Koreans seem to work, man. They'll lose their first game to the Foreigner, and then they'll figure out what it was that they did wrong and immediately adapt so fast. So you can't guarantee that kind of a 2-0 win against a player of Alive's caliber there. Nicely played by both players. Nerchio takes his first loss. He does pick up a map, which will help his map score, and he's got this game against HasuObs as well, which is in his favor, honestly. So he may be able to recover from that and put himself in a good position going into the final game of his tournament, which will be a baptism of fire.
Baptism of fire. Wow. I gotta watch that. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, man. Nestea versus Nerchio. Best TvZ in the world versus best TvZ in Europe, arguably, if you don't count Demago, or indeed if you put them on the same level. But nicely played games. That's what I want to see, man. That was a great start to this show.
Yes, I love that. I love that series. It was a very good series. A lot of interesting, you know, scenarios that we saw come out there. But now we are going to be going into very shortly here Nerchio versus HasuObs. HasuObs, is it going to go 0-2? Is it going to muster a win to go back to 1-1? Is Nerchio going to go from, you know, 0 to 0 here, going 1-0 on day 1 to 1 wins and 2 losses? I guess that's what we're here to find out.
Yes, we are, and we'll be back with that after the short commercial break, ladies and gents. You're watching the IronSquid, brought to you by Twitch TV and Astro Gaming. Don't go anywhere.